Welcome in episode 115 of What's Right with Nick Wright. The NFL playoffs are set. We have so much to get into. In fact, I'll get to the gambling stuff in about 45 seconds. Let's just jump right into the show. It's me, Nick Wright. My son Damonza is here. Here's what's not on the show. Mike Tomlin has another winning season. The Bucs play starters and lose to the Falcons, and Sean McVay could leave Los Angeles. Those things are not on the show. We will get to the Green Bay Packers and what will end up being about 5 minutes of I told you so in just a moment. But first, for folks that don't listen to the gambling show, we were having a rough season. And we were 6 games under 500. We do 5 picks a week typically. We were 6 games under 500 going into week 18. And I made what some considered an irrational decision, which was we're going to bet the board. We left out the Bills and Bengals game because when we were doing the show, we still didn't know DeMar's health, and there were a lot of things we didn't know about what they were going to do, so we said we're going to, and by the way, and we'll get to the Bills and DeMar in a moment, it's an all-time great sports moment we had, but so we said we're going to bet 14 games this week. At 6 under 500, I needed to go 10-4 to keep my streak alive of being at 500 or above every year I've been on national television. My picks on TV this year finished, because I only do 3 a week, and we missed a few weeks because of World Cup, 26-18. So on TV, I did great, but I was under 500 with the picks here. I needed to go 10-4 to have a 500 season. That would have been 49-49-2. Oddly, exactly 100 games.
Yeah.
I needed to go 11-3 to Monze to finish above 500. 11-3. It's like 78% against the spread. DeMonze, what did I go?
We went 11-3.
11-3. 11-3 on the gambling show. Documented.
Finished the game above 500.
Well, 2 games technically. 50, 48, and 2. The only losses were the Jags, which I just couldn't get a bet right on the Jags all year, even though my season-long bet was correct on the Jags. The Cowboys, which was way off, and the Colts, which I'll be honest, kind of screwed me a little bit. They have 4th and 20 up 7. I'm laying 2.5 or 3, whatever it was. But you know what? I can't complain. 11-3, which is the exact number I had to hit in order to finish above 500. And we did it. We did it. And maybe the play next year for the gambling show is just pick all the games every week. Maybe my problem isn't with my picks. Maybe my problem had been with favoring certain picks over others. Maybe all the picks are just great. So I'm not sure, but here's what I do know. Above 500, going into the playoffs. Oh, you know what, Damonza? Let's play have you looked at the lines for, this is a total ripoff of Bill Simmons' Cousin Sal, by the way, but do you know the wild card weekend playoff lines?
Mm-mm.
Okay, perfect. So this will be a fun way to do it, and then we'll get into the show. So let's go through the games in order. I have looked at the lines, and I want to see how you do. Not really how you do, but it'll give you an idea of what side you might want to be on, okay? Because Damonza came to a realization this weekend, which was post-football, he's moving to California. And California, still stuck in the Stone Age when it comes to gambling, and so there's no legalized gambling out there. So Damonza said to me kind of sadly yesterday, sitting on the couch, he was like, you know, this is my last Sunday betting football. And I kind of looked at him quizzically, and I was like, you're not going to gamble in the playoffs? And he was like, oh, yeah, the playoffs. That's probably a fun time to gamble. I'm like, yeah, buddy. But this is the last regular season Sunday. All right, let's go through the games. First game, Seahawks at 49ers. What do you think the line is?
49ers minus 8.5.
Not bad, 10.
10?
49ers minus 10.
Yeah.
Chargers at Jags and the Prince.
Chargers at Jags. Chargers minus 3.
Chargers, it was 2.5. Chargers minus 2.5. It is down to Chargers minus 1 because so much steam is on the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right,
Yeah.
Dolphins at Bills.
Shoot. Dolphins at Bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bills minus 14.
It's Bills minus 11,
Okay.
which I think is actually splitting the difference between if Skylar Thompson's the quarterback, it's going to be Bills minus 14 plus. I think there's a small chance Tua plays. And if not, if Teddy plays. I think if Teddy plays, it'll stay at 11. If Skylar plays, it'll go to 14. And if Tua plays, it'll go to 7.5 or 8. Giants at Vikings.
Giants at Vikings. Vikings minus 1.
Minus 3.
Minus 3.
Vikings minus 3. Ravens at Bengals.
Ravens at Bengals. Bengals minus 5.5.
Minus 6. You nailed that one. And last one, Cowboys at Bucks.
Cowboys at Bucks. Cowboys minus. Whoa. Cowboys at. I don't know. That one's kind of weird.
What were you going to say? Cowboys minus what?
Cowboys minus 4.
It's Cowboys minus 3.
That. Okay.
You know what? You've done grown up on the football gambling. You weren't more than a point and a half off on any of it.
Yeah.
That's really well done. All right, let's get to a game that was not listed is the Green Bay Packers at anybody because they choked again. Let's get right into the show. Go right ahead, Damonza.
Congrats, Cheeseheads. You went on a pointless runs that ruined your chance at a top pick.
Yep.
The Packers fumbled the chance to see what they had in Jordan Love, and now they go into the offseason with a non-committal Aaron Rodgers and zero clue of Love's ability.
Yeah.
Will the decision not to shut it down weeks ago come back to bite them?
I mean, I think it already has.
Okay.
I think that after the game, you've got Jameson Williams ask Aaron Rodgers for his jersey. He's like, I'm going to keep this one. He goes
That's a weird dude.
He goes arm in arm with Randall Cobb, and they were really playing up this could be Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Packer. If Aaron Rodgers might retire, which I don't think he's going to, or if might want to be traded, or you might want to trade him, you know what you'd like? To have been able to watch Jordan Love play this last month.
Yep.
And everybody killed me for that take. But, and even yesterday, after they lost, folks were like, Nick, you were obviously wrong. They had a shot. They had a shot at sneaking into the playoffs. Their shot at winning a Super Bowl died 6 weeks ago. And if you're still in the Super Bowl championship business, which you should be if you're the Green Bay Packers, and if you should be if you have Aaron Rodgers, then once this year's done from a Super Bowl perspective, because even if they snuck in, they weren't going to go to San Francisco and then go to Philadelphia and then it wasn't going to happen. Then you must do everything you can to put yourself in the best position for the next Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And now, what the hell do you do? I guess you pick up Jordan Love's option. What if Jordan Love says, hey guys, when you drafted me, I expected I might sit 1 year. I was open to the possibility of sitting 2 years. I swallowed that I was going to have to sit 3 years. I'm not sitting 4 years. You guys spent a first-round pick on me. Other teams would have drafted me. You're going to make me sit. And when after Aaron, you drafted Aaron around the same spot in the draft, you drafted me. He sat 3 years, and then you got rid of Favre. So there's that. So that's big picture, and we'll have plenty of the offseason to talk about the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and all of that. I mean, it'll just be a version of, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Should have played Love, and again, just to be very clear, if you play Love and he's terrible, then you don't pick up the fifth-year option, and you know you got to keep Rodgers. If you play Love and he's okay, then you pick up the fifth-year option, you keep Rodgers. If you play Love and he's unbelievable, then you make the decision. Do we want to trade Aaron Rodgers and turn the page Jordan Love, or do we want to trade Jordan Love for help for Aaron Rodgers right now?
What can you even get for Aaron Rodgers these days?
Well, it's not as much because of the contract. You'd be able to get something, though. Like, for example, a team like the Jets that, let's say they don't get Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr, or they don't want those guys, and they're like, you know what, we're good enough to win right now. The Titans with Mike Vrabel, like those are teams that are like, teams that think we can win right now if we have the right quarterback. The question is Rodgers the right quarterback? So this is how Aaron Rodgers' last 3 seasons have ended. 2 years ago, he's the league MVP. They're the 1 seed. They have a home playoff game. They're favored against Tom Brady. They blow it. Last year, he's the league MVP. They're the 1 seed. And that was in the conference championship game. They have a home playoff game in round 2 after the bye against the Niners. The Niners score 0 offensive touchdowns and beat Green Bay because Rodgers was terrible. This year, they have a de facto home playoff game against a team that's been eliminated, the Detroit Lions. And Rodgers throws for 200 yards, has a back-breaking pick at the end, and they blow it. There's no getting around this. He was outplayed by Jared Goff. Damonza, what's been the one consistent point for the Lions, their consistent weakness all year, start of the year to theoretically the end of the
defense,
year?
right?
Their defense.
Yeah.
The dead last defense in the league. And you score 16 points. Can't capitalize in the red zone, threw 2 picks to the same guy, had one of them called back due to a very questionable hands to the face, and then you threw a pick to him anyway. It's a disastrous end. A disastrous end. And it follows a line of these Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs or in de facto playoff games in a big spot. It's not a good look. Some of in the mid-2010s, the Aaron Rodgers playoff stuff, a lot of it was the defense was awful, okay? But the year they won the Super Bowl, they're in the NFC Championship game against Caleb Haney, a backup for the Bears. He has 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 55 rating, but they win. The next year, they're 15-1. Defending, and by the way, he was awesome in the other 3 playoff games, including the Super Bowl. I give him full credit. In the other 3 playoff games, he had 9 touchdowns, 0 picks, a 125 rating, was unbelievable.
Okay.
The next year, he's the runaway league MVP. They're 15-1. They lose a home playoff game to the Giants. He throws for 260 yards, has a pick, has a 78 rating. The next year, not his fault, the defense can't stop San Francisco. The next year, again, they play San Francisco, but they're at home, by the way. They lose the game. The next year, they are in Seattle with a chance to go to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship game. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, a 55 rating. They blow a big lead late. Seattle gets an onside kick. This is an unbelievable playoff game. The next year, you lose to the Cardinals in the playoffs. That one, I'm not going to put on Aaron. He didn't play well in that game, but he did have 2 Hail Marys in the same game, but they lose, I think, in overtime. The next year, you can't stop Atlanta. I'm not putting it on him. Atlanta scores 44. Then you miss the playoffs for 2 years. Then you have the game against San Francisco 3 years ago. You only scored 20 points. Then you have the game against Tampa at home. As a favorite, you lose. Then the game last year against San Francisco where they score 13 points. You're at home. You're off a bye, and you lose. And now this Lions game. It's just not a good history for a guy as talented as he is. 2 small coaching points in this game that I want to point out because I'm a coaching nerd. When the Lions looked like they were trying to run out the clock, they had a run on 1st and 10 to get 9 yards. It was like 3 minutes left. Packers had their timeouts. The Packers then smartly jumped off sides. So if you play Madden, you get this. The assumption is we're not going to stop them from picking up the 1 yard. So let's just give them the first down. That way we don't have to burn a timeout after they pick up the first down. Teams have been starting to do that the last few seasons. Dan Campbell in Detroit were one of the first teams I've seen recognize that's what they were doing and decline the penalty. Super sharp by the Lions. Super sharp. The refs were surprised. Tirico and Collinsworth seemingly had never heard of this strategy. It was super sharp by the Lions. I give them credit. A couple plays later, there is a critical moment, and I can't believe Tirico and Collinsworth screwed it up. It's 2nd and 7. The Packers are down to 1 timeout. In fact, no, they're down to no timeouts. There's 2:17 left. The Lions run a play. They get 2 yards. There is a holding penalty called on Detroit. This is a critical moment because you have no timeouts left. Because of the penalty, the clock is going to stop. If you decline the penalty, it's now 3rd and 5 with 2:15 left. you get a stop there, you're going to get the ball back down either 4 or 7 with the full 2 minutes. They idiotically accepted the penalty. So now, yes, instead of 3rd and 5, it's 2nd and 17.
Right.
But the Lions can run 2 plays, and then you get the ball back with 1:15 left.
Yeah.
And now the Lions ended up running 2 plays, getting it to 4th and 1, and with 1:15 left, went for it and got it. But that's a must-decline penalty spot. And Dorico and Collinsworth on the broadcast were like, oh, terrible penalty, and it stops the clock for Green Bay. But stopping the clock there isn't helpful if you accept it, because you just get the down over again. You understand what I mean? Like, so it's the key thing is there that you can decline the penalty and get an extra timeout. So at the end of that game, Dan Campbell and his coaching staff, super sharp on something that could have saved the Packers 40 seconds, and the Packers really weak on something that could have gotten them a free 40 seconds. Bad job there.
Yeah.
Bad job there. All right, next.
So it looks like the Seahawks won the first trade ever. We also got a poll. But that was like a little question.
Is Rodgers done in Green Bay? 71% say yes. Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm more interested in that topic another day if he's going to get traded. All right, go ahead.
All right, the NFC East was up for grabs on Sunday. Doesn't seem like Dallas got the memo. Jerry Jones called their loss to the Commanders a nightmare, and the limited Jalen Hurts only scored 1 touchdown versus the Giants' third stringers. Dak and Hurts both look like different people, and I dare say these teams look like frauds. With the 3 NFC East
will the
3 NFC East teams even win a single playoff game?
All right, I love that angle on a gambling opportunity. A money line parlay
for each team playing against those 3 NFC.
Yeah, so the way you would do that, because we don't know who the Eagles are playing yet, is you do a money line parlay on the Vikings and Bucks.
Okay.
And whatever you win, you would set aside and then put that exact amount on whoever the Eagles are playing in round 2, which would probably be Tampa. Yeah. All right, so the Giants, actually, of the 3 NFC East teams, the Giants comported themselves the best this weekend. They were playing all their backups in a game they didn't need at all. Philly had to have it, and it's a 6-point game, and they're onside kicking at the end. It's a hell of a job by the Giants. Great job by us. One of our 11 correct picks was plus 14. Giants plus 14, way too many points. It was plus 16.5 by kickoff once Jalen was playing. If you're Philly, you got to be concerned. You're playing your worst football at the end of the year. Hurts does not look right, and maybe he'll get right in the next 2 weeks, but who knows? And whomever you play in round 2, by definition, will be coming off their best moment of their season. You're not going to be playing Seattle because the Niners are going to annihilate Seattle. So in round 1, you will either be playing the Giants, a divisional rival who knows you and just played you tough with their backups.
Daniel Jones is rubbing his hands right now.
Oh, okay, like that meme, the Birdman meme. The Cowboys, who you've beaten once, they've beaten you once, or Tom Brady and the Bucks, who knocked you out of the playoffs last year. If you're Philly, I know Eagles fans hate me, and they don't like to hear me saying it, but you've been staring one and done in the face for weeks, and now it feels like it's coming closer. Then there's the Cowboys, Damonza. That was a mortifying performance.
Yeah.
And you can't
Pretty
even
bad.
give them the excuse of, well, once they saw Philly was all, running away with the Giants game, they stopped. No. Because the Giants were in a better position to beat Philadelphia and open up the NFC East for the Dallas than Dallas was to beat Washington, who kicked their ass for 60 minutes. Worst Dak Prescott game maybe ever. Another pick 6 by him. Sam bleeping Howell cut up the Cowboys' pass defense. It was pathetic.
Bad game.
You played all your starters. You treated it like it was important because it was. It is the worst possible way to go into the playoffs. And it shows to me, emotional immaturity by that football team to not be able to, like, because the way they played, to me, it was like, all right, yeah, we know if we win and if the Giants, and if we win and if the Eagles lose, yeah, we win the division, but the Eagles aren't going to lose, and so whatever. You've got to be able to lock in. Yeah. And Dak's interception problem is bananas.
Yeah.
The guy tied for the league in interceptions. He missed a third of the season. So, like, everybody is making the point. I shouldn't say, I understand the point of usually the league leader in interceptions are the best quarterbacks. And so right now this year, the guys with the most picks, Dak Prescott, Davis Mills, not one of the best quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, fine. Derek Carr, not one of the best quarterbacks. But then Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, come on, man. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Those are the guys on your list, right? But those guys played 15, 16, 17 games. Dak played 12 games.
Yeah,
had 15 picks. Dallas has to be terrified. Here is the silver lining for Dallas. Everybody knows Jerry Jones has loved Sean Payton for a long time. Given how they played that game, if the Bucs beat them, I think they might fire McCarthy and give Sean Payton $20 million. And I think if you're Sean Payton, you kind of have a quarterback if you go there. You're in the NFC. You know, Sean Payton's meeting with Denver today. We'll talk more about that Broncos-Chargers game. Another one I nailed in the picks, even though the Chargers played their starters, which the reason I picked Denver was because I thought they wouldn't. Right. But the Chargers and the Cowboys had the two most emotionally devastating losses this weekend, and Dallas is in real trouble going into this playoff game, which against Tampa, a Tampa team that somehow has more momentum than them. All right, next.
All right, so the biggest story this week is definitely with Damar Hamlin.
Yeah.
He's doing very well, seems to be recovering, and the Bills added to that with the win. They even knocked out the Patriots in the process. I don't really think anybody feels comfortable playing Buffalo right now, especially you. Are the Bills starting to look like a team of destiny?
All right, so listen, that kickoff return touchdown is one of the greatest, most unbelievable sports moments I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
it's like straight out of a movie.
Well, so you know Ernie Johnson? He hosts Inside the NBA with Kenny and Chuck and Shaq. Ernie's a religious guy.
Uh-oh.
And Ernie tweeted, I'd never heard it put like this, and I'm obviously not a religious guy, but I thought it was a cool concept. Ernie tweeted a God wink in Buffalo. And I think what that means is he believes occasionally certain things happen, and it's God, like, you know, winking at you saying, I'm here. I've never heard it put like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, and I don't know if Ernie came up with that or if that's just something
it's
people
also
have
a nice
said.
way to not shove religion down somebody's
exactly
throat,
right.
You know?
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's why I thought it was so cool.
Right.
It was like but whatever it was a magical moment.
Yeah.
With that said, and the Bills might be a team of destiny, and DeMar is going to get out of the hospital, and they might bring him. Who knows, could he be on the sidelines for some of these games? Maybe.
Right.
With that said, the Bills didn't play great. Josh Allen had two unbelievable throws.
Yep.
Those two touchdowns were
on the money.
On the money, rocket ships. Yeah. They were unbelievable throws. But if I'm the Bills, I'm more than a little concerned about my pass defense that let Mac Jones, for a large part of that game, deal. I'm concerned that after the opening kick return, we then found ourselves down 17-14 to the Patriots, even though the Patriots couldn't get a call to save their lives, and then you had another kick return touchdown. Do you know what I mean? To put yourself in position.
Patriots still even in the game after that.
Right. And the Patriots were in the game exactly right after that. So there are some points of concern. Now, if you are Buffalo, where you are very happy is that you got as close as you could get to a bye in round one, unless Tua comes back. So the Dolphins without Tua have been a total disaster. Yeah. Like the Bengals, if Lamar plays, have a real game on their hands.
Right.
The Ravens, with that defense, if Lamar plays, that's a real game. The Jags-Chargers coin flip game. And so and by the way, I think that the Patriots showed you that maybe they could fight with Buffalo if they would have snuck in. The Steelers, just because of Tomlin and the defense, they beat the Steelers like 38-3 earlier this year, so maybe not. But the Dolphins without Tua should be a very soft spot.
Yeah.
I would be from a just football perspective. I would be nervous if I'm Buffalo about playing Cincinnati in round 2, even though the game would be in Buffalo. From a non-football perspective, that would be one of the spookiest games ever played, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The same two teams, chance to go to the AFC title game a month after. Now, maybe a little less spooky because looks like everything's going to be fine with DeMar.
Right.
But still odd. Now, that would be an unbelievable sports moment as well if that's when DeMar makes his return to not to play, but his return to the team.
Right.
And I think there's a lot that could happen there.
There's going to be a lot riding on that game in Buffalo.
Yeah, of course. So Team of Destiny is on the board for the Bills. It's also on the board, and I feel uncomfortable saying this, so then maybe you shouldn't say it, Nick.
Here we go.
No, so I'll just be from a football perspective purely. DeMar was their backup safety because their all-pro safety went out with an injury early in the year, and he was playing great. With DeMar now out, they're now on their third-string safety. And if you're playing the Bengals in that passing attack, that's, you know what I mean? That's concerning in and of itself. So there's a lot of things. I think everyone, there's a part of them that are rooting for the Bills right now. And I'm not going to, whether they had dominated that football game, lost that football game against the Patriots, or it had been the way it was, kind of a mixed bag, some good, some bad. I think there is a lot of unknown to how all of this is going to impact and affect them. All right, next.
Yeah. So your Kansas City, San Francisco Super Bowl prediction is very much alive.
How's that looking, America?
It's looking pretty good.
Let's just see right now what my old 50-1 ticket right now, what it would be. You can keep talking. I'm just going to look up what a Kansas City, San Francisco. Well, let's see. Hold on. NFL, Super Bowl. Conferences is what I want. Oh, the Chiefs are the favorites in the AFC. The Niners are almost the favorites in the NFC. So I got Kansas City, San Francisco at 50-1.
Yep.
If you want to make it right now, it's 7-1.
Wow.
So that means my $1,000 ticket right now is worth because if my ticket, if it wins
$70 or something like that, or
no. So if you wanted to make 50 grand, which is what mine would make, you would have to, my $1,000 ticket's worth $7,000.
Okay.
If I put it up on Prop Swap or whatever, I'd be able to get about $7 grand for it. Now, am I selling it? Of course not. But it's looking good. But go ahead.
In the AFC, the Chiefs are once again the 1 seed for the 3rd time in 5 years. Mm-hmm. I know you want to brag about that. Mm-hmm. Though the Arrowhead Invitational may need to go on the road this year. Kansas City is literally playing their opponents right now. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco is riding a league-leading 10-game winning streak into the playoffs. After watching the entire season, has anything changed your mind?
No, nothing at all. And
spoken like a true stubborn person.
And can we show you guys what the Chiefs, Damonza, did you see the Ring Around the Rosie play? Were we watching together?
Yeah.
I can't remember Saturday if we were watching together or not. They're toying with people. Yeah. And
it's pretty disrespectful.
I want to see the update on Frank Clark's health. But the Chiefs are in as good a position as you could possibly be in. And Mahomes, but you know what's not in today's show? Who's the NFL MVP? You know why? Because there's no debate. Mahomes should get every single first place vote. He should. And that debate's over. And are the Chiefs going to miss Tyreek Hill? That debate's over. And the Chiefs' young defense is surging at the end of the year, and they put it on the Raiders. The Niners, on the other hand, are
the Raiders.
Okay, well, you play who's on your schedule. The Niners, on the other hand, are a machine. They haven't lost since they played Kansas City when Kansas City kicked the crap out of them. And on the broadcast yesterday, they said they're undefeated with Christian McCaffrey. I watched Christian McCaffrey play the Chiefs and lose.
I mean, he did score the first touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I know they're not undefeated with him. But Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm ready to say it. Brock Purdy's awesome.
He's got a nice story, too.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so the Niners are terrifying. All right, next.
All right, since you didn't get to use your bonus time last week, we'll give you a shot to talk about your favorite topic on this slot. And that, of course, is the prince that was promised, who won the AFC South. Great prediction by you.
Another winning bet.
Yes, Tannehill got injured, and the Titans lost 7 straight.
2 of them to the Jags. 2 of them to the Jags.
But still, regardless, good call. You were definitely a little nervous Saturday night. Now it gets a little bit tougher, extremely tougher. It's not the Titans. He faces another untested playoff quarterback in Justin Herbert. Regular season is over. Who cares about the AFC South? Who do you trust to actually win this game?
Is that a real question? I mean, we're late, so I'll go fast. I'm the Jags. The Jags are not. I said this before. I will say it again. I said this 2 weeks ago. The Jags are not losing again until they come to Arrowhead in the divisional round and lose to the Chiefs. And in fact, for folks watching the pod, little spoiler, don't tweet about this. This will be our little secret. Those trumpeteers from First Things First, they're back today. Bringing them back to celebrate the royal pronouncement of another championship for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, all this guy does is play football and win titles.
And stress you out and lose you money.
2014 Trevor Lawrence, Georgia's 6A regional champ. 2015 Trevor Lawrence, Georgia's 6A regional champ. 2017 Trevor Lawrence. Oh, no. I skipped 2013 regional champ. 2015 and 16, or 16, 17 regional and state. 2018 goes to Clemson, ACC and national championship. 2019 and 2020 back-to-back ACC championships. 2021 didn't happen. 2022 AFC South championship. Guy just wins jewelry. That's all he does. Wins jewelry and has luxurious hair, and he's about to kick the crap out of the Chargers. We will. What's the question? AFC South championship. Yeah, they hang banners for that, buddy. I don't know which one of our smart-ass producers put question marks on that. Probably whichever one's a Washington fan, because they got no championship banners to hang of any sort in the last 30 years. But yeah, we hang banners. That's what Trevor Lawrence does. We will talk about the Chargers. We will talk about the Dolphins. We will do, and the craziest battle for the number 1 pick you've ever seen. All that's next. Quick break, 90-second break. Be right back. What's right? All right, welcome back in episode 115, What's Right with Nick Wright. By the way, I want to try something. Maybe on Thursday's show, maybe next Thursday's show, or, you know what? Yeah, one of the upcoming Thursday shows, I want to try something, which is instead of a traditional rundown for the second segment of the show, I want to kind of do interactive, like I read the comments as they come in and respond to them. I know we do. We're going to answer your comments at the end.
Right.
But I thought about it, and I was like, I could almost treat this like my old radio show where we have a text line. Right. Where people can just comment in, and we can almost have a free format. Maybe we do that Thursday. Maybe we do it afterwards. I'm not sure. But that's going to be on there. That's going to be on the board coming up for folks that are watching live on YouTube. And don't forget about your comments. And last week, sorry that we weren't able to get to many of your comments because we went so late last week. And then we had our great Jeopardy champion, Lloyd, who's a big fan of Damonza. He's a big fan of the pod. Shout out Lloyd, who I'm sure is listening to this.
He really loves my dinosaur take.
Yeah, he did. He's a fun guy.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy. I like him.
Cool.
And he also used his little bit of mini Jeopardy / What's Right podcast notoriety to promote some good causes. I thought it was cool. So we'll get to your guys' comments in the YouTube section in the next segment, but there's more Week 18 to discuss, so Damonza, go right ahead.
All right, the Dolphins clinched the 7th seed in disgusting fashion without even scoring a touchdown on the Jets. When asked about Tua returning, head coach Mike McDaniel wouldn't comment, but after his 3rd concussion and everything going on, like with DeMar and stuff, shouldn't it have just been a no period? It's not like Miami is going to go in there and upset Buffalo, if we're being honest. Would it have been better for the Dolphins just to lose outright to avoid these type of questions and put this season to rest?
No, I don't think it would have been good for them just to lose outright. So here's the thing. I left this in there. I saw the 3rd concussion thing, and everyone is saying it's a 3rd concussion, which is why I left it in there. It should be noted. The Dolphins and Tua still claim he didn't have a concussion the first time.
Right.
That's a 2nd concussion. That the first time in the game against the Bills, I think it was, when he fell, that it was a back injury. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but we talked about that before. Now, the Dolphins thing was clearly a concussion, and obviously the most recent one was a concussion. My question is this. If Tua clears the protocol and the doctors say he's gone through all the concussion protocol steps, if he wants to play, should he be allowed to? And I think it is very important that that players are not allowed to insert themselves back into a game or fight to play if they are suspected of having a concussion, even before you definitively know it. Because if they were concussed, they might not be of their right mind.
True.
But if it's been weeks later, and now so let me be, I want to be very judicious with my words here. Years ago, we didn't know the impacts of CTE, long-term concussions, all of it. And one could argue, and people did argue, the league was intentionally hiding it from its players. That was abhorrent. But now the information's out there. Nobody can say, oh, I didn't know. Everybody knows. So the question that I would be asking is, should Tua, if he's cleared, be allowed to make that decision for himself? If a doctor comes to him and says, if you suffer another concussion in the next 6 weeks, your long-term neurological function could be significantly hampered, and your chances of significant terrible outcome are drastically increased. Should he be allowed to get that information and say, I choose to play? I don't think it's as cut and dry as I think some media members make it out to be. I think if Tua had said, do you know how many sacrifices I made throughout my entire life to get to this point? And this is a potential fork in the road in my career.
Yeah.
The Dolphins might go after Tom Brady again. But if I go out there and ball out, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, my lifelong dream. So I don't think it's as simple as Mike McDaniel simply saying, we're not allowing him to play. Now, if he doesn't come out of the protocol, then he can't play. But if he does come out of the protocol, should he be allowed to make that choice?
He's a grown man.
That's kind of what I think. I think that the protect him from yourself.
It's only when in the immediate moments after the concussion.
Correct. When you don't know if there are Now, I also do think that the protocol is good, where it shouldn't be the he's a grown man element of it shouldn't apply to you're still in concussion protocol, I want to play anyway. No.
Yeah.
But if you clear it, should he be able to make that choice? I think he should. Now, again, I've got to walk a very careful tightrope here.
Man loves to play football.
Well, let me ask you this. What if this offseason, DeMar Hamlin is cleared? Should he be able to make that choice on his own? I say absolutely. Should he be able to flatly say, I've talked with the doctors, they've said what happened to me was, I think it's called, like getting struck by lightning. I'm making the choice. Another question. If the doctors clear him but tell him because this happened, it is more likely to happen to you again, but it is still, the odds are whatever, astronomical enough to where the doctors clear him. I think everyone would argue he should be able to make that choice. So I don't think it is as cut and dry as some people make it out to be. And I want to make one other point. Mitch Morse is the center for the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
A month ago, he got his 6th career concussion. He's already back playing. Now, I have read certain things that say concussions that are suffered from impact to the front of your brain are different than I don't want to say aren't as bad, but are different than the ones that you get like Tua got from the back of your head. And I'm not a doctor, so maybe these are not an apples-to-apples comparison. But I think it's a bit of a nuanced conversation. All right, now a much more fun conversation. Go ahead, Damonza.
All right, for some strange reason, the Texans had a comeback drive to beat the Colts. You tweeted that the Texans should have kneeled on their 2-point attempt.
Yeah.
Maybe Texans ownership agreed with you because Lovey was fired Sunday night. Was winning the game a more fireable offense than losing it would have been?
Okay.
This is the second black coach to get fired for winning games in like the last year that I've heard of.
Okay, so let's talk about that just for a second. In 2018, there was one black coach hired. Steve Wilkes. He lasted 1 year and they fired him. The next black head coach hired was Brian Flores. He lasted 3 years and was fired ostensibly for not participating in tampering and for winning too many games, and he filed a lawsuit.
Yep.
You then had David Culley, hired by the Houston Texans, fired after 1 year. Then had Lovie Smith, hired by the Houston Texans, fired after 1 year. Todd Bowles was also hired this year, and he's not going to get fired this season. It is a bad and you know what? Mike McDaniel, I think his dad's black, the coach of the Dolphins. Yeah. I think people didn't know he was black, but
you can see he's a little seasoned.
And so it's a really terrible look for the league and for the Texans to hire these guys that no one else was looking at to hire. Just to fire them after a year is mortifying.
Right, and then you're losing all these games, and then you fire him after a win.
Okay.
So the timing of it is also just like,
so
I get you don't want to win because you
No. They didn't fire. I think they were firing him win or lose. He met with ownership the day before the game to try to make the case that he should keep his job. You have no good players. Like, the Texans are trying to be bad to try to dig them to get the number 1 pick, and So listen, there is what's going on with black coaches in the league's bad situation. There's no question about it. Now, to the number 1 pick thing. It is categorically insane that they did not kneel that 2-point conversion. I understand the idea of wanting to play hard in the season on a high note, see what guys can do. All that's fine. They had an opportunity to thread the perfect needle. Play hard for 59 minutes, show you could have won, and then hold on to the most important asset that you can have when it comes to acquiring players, the number 1 pick. Right now they have the number 2 pick and the number 12 pick. If they want the number 1 pick, they would probably get it if they traded the Bears the number 2 pick and the number 12 pick. Bears, because the Bears don't want a quarterback anyway. Bears move down 1 spot, pick up the 12th pick. You could have just had it.
Right.
By kneeling the 2-point conversion. And again, that is it. And I know people thought I was crazy when I said it. If I told you your team or any team had the opportunity to acquire an incredibly valuable resource to team building, and they directly chose not to, you would say, well, that's ridiculous. But that's what they did. For what? So the players can go into the offseason feeling better? No. When you fire your coach, most of the players are gone anyway. So the coach can build something? No. He's fired. So the quarterback? No, you're going to draft a quarterback. Now, would they get in trouble with the league? I don't know. Maybe. But they're not going to strip them of the pick.
Yeah.
You can't have that in front of you. The opportunity, and this isn't even about me being so convinced Bryce Young's better than C.J. Stroud. It's not that. It's that even if you weren't going to use the number one pick, even if you wanted to trade the number one pick, it was right there. And it wasn't going to undermine the integrity of the whole sport.
I was just going to say that.
What? Go ahead.
Maybe these guys value the integrity of the sport.
But I don't think,
highly.
I think that if you threw the game, that would undermine the integrity of it. There are a lot, but like from start to finish, you played as hard as you could. You came out great. You gave up the lead. You converted 2 4th and longs, including a touchdown 4th and 20. You can lay down your sword then at the end. We could have won the game. It was possible for us to win, but we're trying to become a good franchise again. The number one pick's valuable. Instead, the Bears start 2-1 and win once the rest of the way and get the number one pick. Now, there are so many interests. Well, go ahead and ask your follow-up.
Thanks to former Bears and now former Texans head coach Lovie Smith, Chicago now is the first pick and a franchise quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they? Should the Bears trade the number one pick or pick Bryce Young and trade Fields?
Well, let me give you another option.
Oh, here it is.
Justin Fields for Lamar. Who says no? So the Ravens are in a weird spot. Maybe. But I think Lamar wants the guaranteed money, and they've got the most cap space of any team in the league.
Right.
Via the number one pick, you can get a bunch of assets, multiple first-round picks, players, a lot of stuff. The Ravens clearly don't want to pay Lamar, but they have a particular type of offense. It's not like they could trade Lamar for draft picks and be like, we're signing Derek Carr.
Right.
Their offense necessitates
quarterback.
Right.
Almost.
Which is why all their backup quarterbacks are just worse and worse versions of Lamar.
Right.
You just go from Lamar to Tyler Huntley to Anthony Brown. It's just super athletic, mobile guys, and their throwing ability just gets worse as you go down the depth chart. I mean, that's what the Bears thing is fascinating. Because you have to either trade Justin Fields or the number one pick. It would be franchise malpractice in a draft where there's multiple quarterbacks that people want to keep the number one pick and draft Will Anderson from Alabama, the defensive end. You got to flip it. Somebody threw this out there on Twitter. I think it's interesting. They trade the number one pick to Houston for 2-12. They then trade the number 2 pick to Seattle for 5-20. So you then see Houston gets their quarterback, Seattle gets their quarterback. You then have the 5th, 12th, and 20th picks of this year's draft. Probably could trade one of those, like the 12th, for future firsts. The Bears can retool everything.
Yeah.
And by the way, on this pod, I want to shout out because one of the and Lori, our social media manager, told me someone in the comments last week suggested the Fields for Lamar thing. I didn't see that until I had tweeted about it. I don't see the comments during the show, but whomever that is, I don't want you to think I'm stealing your takes. But somebody else asked in last pod what pods I listened to. First and Pod, they have it all screwed up and how you have to search for it. The only way you can find it is if you type in first with the number 1 ST, and then for and use the ampersand sign.
How'd you figure that out?
Well, it's hosted by Danny and Filipponi.
Oh, okay.
Danny Parkins and Andrew Filipponi. Okay. They do a great job on it, but Danny does radio on the Score in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so they've got content
Yeah.
all summer.
That'd
It's
be very
unbelievable. All right, we've got a game to play. We are as late as we've ever been. My apologies. Go ahead.
All right, man. So, as you can see with the wig, we are playing Public Defender today. Hair's getting a little long, so it's a little difficult.
Hair is getting a little long, so it is a little tough.
So, let me grab my...
Yeah.
Some coaches are going to get bad news today, maybe even while we're on the air. So plead their cases. Let's bring in Nick Wright Public Defenders. First case we got here is Brandon Staley. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley left his starters in a game that meant nothing and still managed to lose to Russ and the Broncos. Even after Mike Williams got hurt, Justin Herbert was still in the game. Staley lost one of his last supporters, Nick Wright. I think we're going to show the tweet.
Oh, okay. I wrote, Staley might have lost me as a supporter after this. What are you doing? You've been riddled with injuries all year. You're locked in the 5 seed. Should have treated this game like a bye. So foolish. Go ahead.
Good thing he has one supporter who will never leave his side because he can't. Nicholas Wright, Esquire. Counselor, defend your client, Brandon Staley.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you to consider the full circumstances of the situation. My client, Brandon Staley, have you seen how he treats the preseason in the league? Doesn't play any of his relevant players one snap. Throughout this year, we saw this Chargers team riddled with injuries in a way almost no team in the league, certainly no team to make the playoffs, dealt with. He has key guys who have long injury histories. Furthermore, after the 1 o'clock games, with Baltimore losing, my client knew his team was locked into the 5 seed. Could not improve the seed, could not hurt the seed. The only bad outcome would be players getting hurt. The worst possible outcome would be players getting hurt and you lose some positive momentum by actually trying in the game and losing to the terrible Broncos. Yet all of that happened. To which I say, is there any possible explanation other than temporary insanity? Is this the actions of a sane man? Is this the actions of a man who rises to the top of his profession, who clearly understands win probability and some of the advanced, more nuanced parts of the sport if he had his full faculties about him? It is not. So when something is inexplicable, sometimes it is because it cannot be explained because either the supernatural is involved or someone is having an out-of-body experience. And Brandon Staley, who's some of the sharpest football minds in America, folks that are sharp enough to be able to go 11-3 picking against the spread in the final week of the season, sharp enough to see the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs and the Tampa Bay Bucks season under and all those things. Those people have always said my client's brilliant, and yet he does this? So I don't know if it was possession of a football demon or simply old school temporary insanity. But that was not my client out there making those ridiculous, disastrous, season-changing decisions. He never would. He never has. I rest my case.
Adjourned.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys couldn't tell, I can't defend that bullshit.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
It's a bad move.
That was terrible.
Especially, just being the Chargers. I think any other team could have done that type of thing.
But particularly them. Right. Particularly them's terrible. Next
up, we got Bill Belichick. So he says that he's coming back next year, but should he? The Patriots had one of the worst offenses in the league this year. They haven't won a playoff game since Tom Brady left. Bill Belichick was so scared after 2 kick returns for a touchdown that he called for a kick out of bounds. His coaching staff is full of his family and his yes men. Counselor, defend your client, the coward Bill Belichick.
I mean, you think you could win more games with Mac Jones? I'd like to see you try. No, I'm just. You're gonna say my special teams was a problem. Were you saying that when the special teams won us the Jets game when we had 3 points because Mac Jones our quarterback and a punt return once the game? You're saying, my sons are on the defensive side of the staff. That defense that in this game with all that emotion from Buffalo held them to 21 offensive points. That defense that has scored a half dozen touchdowns on their own. That defense that won them the game last week against the Miami Dolphins with a pick 6. Guys, the villain here is not me and my 6 Super Bowl rings. The villain here is my quarterback. My client's quarterback, pardon me. My quarterback what was our lowest point of the season? The double lateral? Well, my quarterback was fault for that twice. Once, because he has such a noodle arm, my client couldn't call a Hail Mary. And the other is because for a guy who seems to love cheap shotting and tripping and going after guys' knees, just got mush-faced by Chandler Jones to the core of the earth. So how are you blaming me rather than my quarterback? Do you have a follow-up question, counselor?
No.
I think you do.
Oh, crap.
Your Honor, pardon me?
I think next time we should do public defender defend Mac Jones. But, yeah, so didn't your client draft Mac Jones in round 1 last year?
That was on the recommendation of Nick Saban.
And then Zappy.
One second. If it pleases the court, allow me to answer the first question. My client was led astray by alleged good friend Nick Saban. Mac Jones is coach at the University of Alabama, and I would like to present evidence to the court that my client has not spoken with Nick Saban since that incident. In fact, their relationship's ruined because this was obviously, he bamboozled him. So this is all Mac Jones, not on me, Bill Belichick. I won 6 Super Bowls. Mac Jones stinks. I rest my case.
We got Bailey Zappi on there, though, man. You put him out there and you took him out.
There might have been a little ownership meddling there, but my client doesn't want to blame others. Next!
Claim insanity. All right, only the Saul Goodman of the sports world could possibly defend Jeff Saturday. He lost 7 straight after his debut victory and blew the largest lead in NFL history and managed to win a game or lose a game that he was trying to win that he should have been trying to lose. Counselor, defend your client, Jeff Saturday.
I mean, did my client fail, or did he succeed in ways you couldn't imagine? What do you think when Jim Irsay hired my client fresh off America's 9th favorite sports television show? What was the job?
To make history.
You think so? You think it was to win football games? Or you think it was to take a 3
month break?
No, I'm sorry. When my client was hired, his team was 3-5-1. And my client had one job. Make sure we have a top 5 pick. And you wake up this morning and we have the 4th pick of the draft. And we managed that despite the fact that my client was up against impossible odds of playing Josh McDaniels and the Raiders in the first game, and while they were supposed to lose that game, they couldn't. My client is so good at losing, he managed to lose to a team that was playing for the number 1 pick. My client, what more, do you think my client failed, or was the only person in the world who could have found ways to have a lead against Philadelphia in the final minute and then lose it? To let the Steelers score 24. You think it's a coincidence that my client's teams were, in all these games through 3 quarters, and then amazingly in the 4th quarter, they were outscored. Let me go ahead and check. They were in the 4th quarter this year, going into the final week of the season, outscored 97-9. My client, who was down a field goal against the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys scored 33 4th quarter points. My client that was up 33 on the Vikings and then lost that game outright. My client that found a way to not only improve our draft position in the final week of the year, but cost our divisional rival, the Texans, the number 1 pick. You think he was trying to win these games? Or you think he did exactly what he was told to do? Sorry that we're playing 5D chess over here and you guys are playing checkers. My client was hired to lose, hired to cost the Texans their number 1 pick. Check. I think he might be coach of the year. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Tampering.
Tampering with what? What do you mean tampering?
The integrity of the sport, trying to lose games.
Well, you know what? That's not my client's job. My client was hired by Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay can answer Roger Goodell, not my client. He's got a segment on Get Up to do, and he should be available for that here very shortly. All right, take a quick break. Come back, answer your questions. What's right? All right, welcome back in episode 115. We'll try a little breaking news, and I think good news. Kevin Durant has an MCL sprain. So it's good news because it's not an ACL and it's not a tear. So he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, and Woj says there's optimism he's going to miss less time than the 6 weeks he missed when he got hurt last year. So it's obviously the Nets are rolling. They're 18-2. Durant's playing like an MVP, but that looked like it could be season-ending. Yeah. And the fact that it's just, say he misses a month, they should be able to survive that. By the way, the Thursday night, if you're available, Nets Celtics.
Yeah, I saw that they were playing again.
Yeah, I had all 4 of those tickets spoken for, but then I kind of barked at Damonza irrationally last night, so now I'm giving him a ticket. I didn't know how mad you were going to be at me this morning, but you've handled this show quite well. Maybe you're just being a professional, but then I was going to make it up to you with a ticket so you could see your beloved Celtics, so I figure we're good.
I appreciate it. A win's a win, man.
My apologies for yesterday evening. I was tired and arguing and whatever. All right, let's go on to reading the listener comments. Go ahead.
All right, Dan asks, who is winning the Natty tonight?
Georgia by more than 13, hopefully.
I'm betting on that game, actually.
What are you betting on?
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay, yeah. Listen, TCU's had an unbelievable season. Georgia probably has 25 NFL players on their roster. TCU might have 5. I understand underestimating TCU has been a money-costing thing, but I think if someone was going to get Georgia, it should have been Ohio State last week. They didn't get them. I think Georgia rolls. I bet this the moment the line came out at minus 13, thinking it would be minus 14.5 by kickoff, and I could middle it, take TCU plus 14.5, and try to land exactly on 14 and win both. It has stayed at 13 consistently. That surprised me, but I like Georgia a lot.
Okay, I'm going to have to watch this game.
Yeah.
I want to see how 20 NFL future players play against 5 future NFL players.
Yeah. I mean, the talent discrepancy in this game, and TCU's had an amazing season, and their quarterback is an amazing story. Every single player that Georgia will feature, except for their quarterback, literally, I shouldn't say every, 90% of these guys will play in the league, of their key contributors, except for their quarterback, who's 5'11" and has no business playing as well as he's played the last 2 years, and he's about to be a back-to-back national champion. It's unbelievable. So TCU clearly has the better quarterback. Georgia has literally the better everything else, and I think they're going to roll them. Next.
Interesting. All right. Marcus Trevino said, you have often floated the idea of allowing playoff teams to draft their opponents. How do you think the bracket would look like if that were to happen?
So I think in the AFC, the Bills would be picking the Dolphins. There's no question about it. I think the Bengals, the Bengals might pick the Chargers over the Ravens. I think that it would be tricky. I think you'd rather play the Chargers right now than the Ravens if Lamar's coming back. If Lamar's not coming back, obviously you'd rather play.
Right.
The way I said that wrong, but if Lamar's not coming, you'd want to play the Ravens.
Right.
But if he is, so maybe I didn't say it wrong. In the NFC, the Niners would 100% draft Seattle. Minnesota would be drafting the Giants. So in this scenario, it wouldn't change much at all. Actually, there are certain years, but let's say the Packers had won last night.
Okay.
The Niners might then pick the Giants. As opposed to a red-hot Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
But because of how it fell, I think it's fine. All right, next.
All right, Darrell Singleton asks, how many coaching changes do you expect to see this offseason?
At least half a dozen. I don't want to go through all of them right now, though. We'll hear more about that, but I'd have to go through the whole thing, and the Cowboys might fire McCarthy if they lose to the Bucs. Next.
Sam I Am said, yo, Damonza, when we get that stream back up, you owe me a game.
When are you doing it?
I'll actually do it. I'll do it tonight. I've been really improving at Madden.
Damonza had an unbelievable thing I've never seen happen. Damonza was playing a guy, and then the game paused, and the game sent him a message.
Oh yeah,
saying, saying you're better than we thought or something.
Yeah.
Like we've misaligned your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. No, that felt great.
I've never seen that happen.
Yeah, because
ever.
I mean, I was beating one dude like 33-6, and then the next game, after they sent me the message, I beat a guy 49-9. So, hey, guys.
Damonza's getting better at
some
Madden.
steady improvement.
I mean, still
I'll do it
can't beat
tonight.
me, but he's getting better at Madden. You beat me the one time. That's fair. We'll do random teams sometime. Damonza also has gotten smart. He's rolling with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Rolling with it's a big difference playing that game when you have a quarterback who can throw versus one who can't. All right, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Fun TV show planned for you today, and the Trumpeteers are back. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday. What's right? Hey, it's Nick Wright. Thank you so much for watching. Please do us a favor. Click subscribe. It helps my ego, and Damonza's got a financial bonus writing on a number of YouTube subscribers, so help him out. And also, click the bell. I don't know what the bell does, but they tell me to tell you to click the bell. And your audio listeners, people that have commutes, drives, whatever it is, subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you get the podcast. Same show, just in your ears instead of through your eyes. All that, check it out. Appreciate y'all.